Hi, everybody.
We're back again for another Buckyball Music Christmas Tree Chat. And today we have our very good friend, Edward Phelps Walker, a performer, professor, double master degree, multilinguist, farmer. Is that about it? Is there more they
Oh,
haven't
yeah, I
told me
think you
about?
know all of my identities very well. Yeah, that's good.
Well, we did figure out
So
we've been friends for over 35 years.
35 years, can you believe it? Yeah.
That's so
So
nice.
I'm really talking about you because you've been interviewing everybody else and shedding the spotlight on them. So I'll be talking about Sarah.
Ah. But first, I think it's very apropos to speak about your grandfather, who I was thinking about after this latest relief bill just passed, that he actually worked for the WPA during the Depression, right?
Yes, he was an artist, a poster artist. Uh, in the 1930s, the Works Progress Administration had funding for visual artists, for theater artists, for musicians. It was very progressive thinking at the time, and gave a lot of people. A lot of people were able to survive, and it's kind of a template for what we probably need today for those communities as well.
Absolutely.
It'd be nice to have that again. But he was. Here's what's interesting about him is that we had his artwork in our house growing up, but no one in the family knew anything about him. And then with the internet back, and when Google came along, I randomly Googled his name, only to find out that he had works in the Library of Congress, and there were books that had his artwork and posters in it, and he was somewhat influential. So that was all came as a surprise to my mother to find out that her own father was, you know, had some renown. She had no idea. No one in my family
Wow.
had any idea.
Huh. Because he died
Yeah.
rather young, right?
He actually died in 1964, 2 months before I was born. His name was
Wow.
Arlington Gregg, and apparently his last words were, "Don't name the kid Arlington." So thank you, Arlington. I mean, it's a nice name, but
Arlington
anyway,
Gregg, correct?
Arlington, yeah.
Right. So we're
Um,
showing some of his posters that you sent me to put on the screen. They're amazing. So beautiful. And
and I
one
got to
is one of
visit.
my favorite singers, Billie Holiday.
Absolutely, yeah. I found that actually in it was for sale at an art gallery, gallery in Chicago. Randomly found it online and bought it. Um, and if you see, there's a name at the bottom as well. That's Frank McBride Jr., who is a
Ah,
major figure in the Black Chicago Renaissance. And a lot of the posters he did for shows, including this one that has Billie Holiday's name on it, were for shows that were produced with Frank McBride, who actually the Chicago Public Library has the Frank McBride archives. He was
hmm.
quite a major figure.
Ah,
So
that's so
just kind of
cool.
someone in my own family kind of being connected to such you know, a movement. So that was pretty exciting.
That is. It's so
And
nice.
so I actually have a book here. Can I plug a book?
Sure. Can
Oh,
you see the book,
Okay, hold
honey?
on. Yes, sure.
and it's by
There
Ennis
it is.
Carter, a really intriguing, intelligent young woman who she kind of is the nationwide leading expert on WPA posters. And this has several of my grandfather's works in it. And he, we got in touch. She got in touch with me, and I learned a lot from her about WPA posters.
Yeah,
And
this work.
is that
So
the style of the posters were one of the major ways that European modernism kind of became
Uh-huh.
involved in the States.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
so how long does the WPA lasted?
You know, in the war kind of, well, of course, like the theater program ended really quickly because of the controversy about, oh, it's too socialist, or it's, you know, the
That again.
yeah, absolutely, you know, and also racial issues.
Irony.
You know, there was you know, race and class, story of America, but yeah, so the war kind of changed everything, and he actually, Arlington moved to Washington D.C. and became a cartographer for the Naval Department, and he used the skills that he learned in graphic design to kind of map this ocean floor for the National Oceanographic Agency. It has a different name.
That's
kind of-
2/3 of the world. That's 2/3 of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a lot to map.
It's a lot of topography. Or oceanography.
Oceanography, but it's topography of the ocean.
Right, exactly. What he said.
what he said.
Oh, that's wonderful. You know, yesterday my brother John sang a song based on our great grandfather who put a notice in for a mail order bride because he couldn't meet any women who, you know, could have kids with and work on the farm. And it's just kind of interesting to go back and learn more about your past and the people who came before you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
And speaking about going into the past, so
Let's do it.
we met at Chautauqua Institution in 1984 when we were both 7 years old. Okay, not really 7. But I remember, so that was, we were both given scholarships through a religious organization. And Chautauqua was renowned for its opera program, but we weren't in that. But we forced our way in, Ed.
It's true. Well, you forced your way in, and I followed. Thank you very much. Yeah, that was pretty
Mark, we're
incredible
not doing Santa Cruz yet. No.
to study.
Mark's ahead on the photos.
Oh, okay.
We're still in Chautauqua. We don't have any photos of Chautauqua.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll cue you.
Okay, well, they're already out in the world.
But Ed, I remember at the end we had a secret Santa or something,
That's right.
and you gave me all of your language dictionaries.
That's right.
That is
What?
so, and I still have them.
Plus a
German,
cas-
Italian, and French.
what a
that was a-
great.
Very meaningful gift.
I'm impressed with 19-year-old Ed Walker.
You should be.
I also gave you a cassette tape of Pavarotti, and I tried to throw you off the scent by misspelling Pavarotti. I was like, here's a tape by Pavarotti. I hear he's a really good singer of the opera. To make it seem like I knew nothing about music. And it worked.
You definitely got me there. And speaking of cats, we have one right at our feet, which is leading us to the next. Okay, so then you went to Oberlin. You went to another university, then you transferred to Oberlin. And then you convinced me to go to Oberlin, right? You visited us in Santa Cruz, where I was living. And that's the picture of Ed enjoying California with his Oberlin sweatshirt.
Enjoying the wine.
Enjoying the wine and the weed.
Wait, my
And
mother's.
There was
that's
that one,
me.
right? There was that
There's
one.
Ed. He's being silly there. And then I had 2 cats, because I'm a cat person. And that was Gershwin. And that's how that term of endearment, Cotty, got started. I started calling my cats Cotty. And then I started calling people Cotty. And we'll talk about that at the end of our chat here, but just a little hint. Hi, kitty. Look, the kitty's here, right here.
Cotty.
And then we both worked at Quisisana in Maine.
Right. Yes.
Do you have any? Oh, whoops. First we went to Oberlin. I don't have the pictures right. You can't see the pictures, but you know what I'm going to show. So that's Ed. You were in the ensemble of Così fan tutte by Mozart with me, but that's a picture of you that I took. And then that's at my junior recital that you attended because you were ahead of me one year.
Yeah.
And then we have the marquee of both of us performing the same year at Oberlin. And now we're at Quisisana. That's Ed and me in front
what
of
was
a
Quisisana?
cabin.
What was Quisisana? I always hear about Quisisana.
I'm going to let Ed explain it.
Quisisana is a resort that still exists. Wonderful place, beautiful resort it's only open in the summers. It's on Lake Kezar, gorgeous lake. Only the whole staff comes from auditions at conservatories, Juilliard, Boston Conservatory, New England Conservatory, Oberlin, et cetera, et cetera. And we wait tables during the day, literally breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then we perform at night. And there was an opera night, a music theater night. There was a classical chamber music night. Really fantastic musicians. We made incredible relationships there. I think you have a picture there of a group of us. Anne Gross is in that picture. I think she's watching.
She is.
You
Hi,
watching?
Anne.
I'm so confused. I feel like I should be able to.
This one here, right?
There it is.
People.
We're all in front of. We're with the chef, Lenny.
Yeah, that's
Len?
good, man. Funny. Yeah.
And it's all of his women. But I had great experience with that. And no, not yet. And a lot of good memories. And then we were in New York together. And we both worked for the wonderful Nora Ephron.
That's right. We
met Terry Finlayson at Quisisana, who introduced us to Nora.
Yeah. And we had a article that we all wrote together that was published in salon.com about our memories as being nannies, mannies. It always seems weird to say that we were nannies because the kids were like 10 and 11. I felt like my job was to make sure they didn't kill each other with baseball bats.
Yeah.
But mostly it was household management and, errands and stuff like that.
Right.
Yes,
Go ahead. Go back to us. He's not sure. He's just putting pictures up willy-nilly over there. But Nora, can you just tell the story about the cheese? Nora asking you to go out for cheese.
Oh, yes. So, keep in mind, I had never been in New York when I got this job for Nora. Sarah, you went to Europe. I went to visit you and I came to see you at Nora's on Thanksgiving. And
right.
you said, I have no money. I have to drop out of grad school and find a job. And you said, oh, you should take this job. Nora, come here. And I'm like, do you need a resume? And she's like, no, can we start January 1st? Never even been to New York. She's never met me. And she's inviting me to live with her and take care of her kids. It was crazy. But anyway, kind of like the first month, she asked me to go out. She was having a party. Can you get me some cheese? And I said, yeah, sure. And I'm walking out the door and I said, I should probably ask what kind of cheese. And she said, oh, something in a soft cream, something in a triple do, something, I don't know, I'm making that up. And then something else surprised me. And I had to tell her, Nora, I'm from Pittsburgh. I was going to get you individually wrapped Kraft American cheese slices. if you hadn't spelled it out for me that you wanted to do it. So anyway, I learned about cheeses. I learned about Zabar's. Love cheese now.
All those great New York institutions.
Yeah, but
And
yeah,
then
that was
we were roommates.
Yeah, we were roommates on Perry Street.
Perry Street in the Village. And Ed's bedroom was a storage space above the entryway.
That was very Japanese of you.
Yeah. You were in the dark, and you come out at like 12 o'clock and go, I've become a marsupial. I have no idea what time it is.
Oh, and I was at St. Thomas Episcopal with the choir of men and boys. There.
Yeah.
Like
very prestigious choral job.
6 services a week, and it paid my rent. Like singing in a church.
Yeah.
It was only $200 a month. I still remember that very well.
The amount.
I was able to pay my rent by singing in a church and sleeping in a storage space above the entryway.
It was comfortable though, right?
I loved the whole apartment. We had a wonderful time.
We did. I remember I have a picture of a few of us from Oberlin or hanging out over Christmas, and I remember the caption is, "No money, but lots of friends." Which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But then you went to teach English in Japan?
Yeah, I felt like I just needed to see some of the world. Applied for a job and went to Japan for 6 months.
Amazing.
And it's there. And then came back to New York, and we were both in New York, but we didn't see each other a lot because our schedules were, I was touring a lot. I was doing music theater. I did a theater in Germany. I did the Yesikopet Phantom for several years. I was back and forth in Germany. So we would live in the same neighborhood and maybe see each other once or twice a year because we were both really busy.
Well, we ended up with different lives. Like you were really in the musical theater world, and I kind of went to the early music / jazz world.
That's right.
So we weren't hanging out with the same people. But it didn't matter, Ed. We reconnected.
Because look, we're still connected.
We are still connected. We've always been connected.
Yeah.
So then you were living in Geneva, Switzerland.
That's right.
And Mark and I saw you guys there, and that was great. And then it was ever since then. And then you were living in DC, and I would have gigs there, and I would see you, and we just stayed in touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. And now you're a gentleman farmer.
Yes.
Yeah, you could show those pictures now. Sorry, Mark. I think I need to like push a button and then he knows. So that's us in Washington, D.C. together. That's a great picture. And there you are on our roof.
I love that roof.
In New York.
The best roof.
And there's more?
Yeah. So, I just wanted to touch on briefly about, you are a teacher of voice and musical theater. And just how is it teaching in COVID, during COVID?
Trying. It's difficult.
Right.
Yeah, let's touch very briefly on it. It's kind of demoralizing.
We hear about how hard it is on the students, but the faculty, it's so hard on the faculty.
Well, especially because, we're teaching a living art, a live performance that's, you see the difficulty here, and we're trying not to talk over each other because we're not in person. And, that interplay of instruction and ideas between a teacher and a student involves that same kind of very quick back and forth. And doing it on Zoom is so frustrating. Not just doing it on Zoom, but doing it for hours every day on a screen, and your eyes just start to glaze over. And it's just, it's very frustrating for them and for us. So yeah, it's been really difficult. I did teach one course in person because it was a freshman vocal pedagogy course. There were 16 students, and it was a 500-seat hall. So we're able to distance quite a bit. Everyone wore masks, and they sang on stage masked and distant from the pianist. So at least we were able to get some kind of live performance instruction going, but then pretty much the entire class contacted COVID, and
Jeez.
yeah, not through that class, it was probably through their dorms. They're living in
yeah.
dorms.
Sure.
So, and eating together, et cetera, and who knows, remember what we did as college students. So,
Yeah.
Partying together.
trying to keep
Partying.
everyone
Yes.
Yeah.
was pretty intense. It was pretty difficult. I'll be really glad when we're in person again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that with us, because it is hard. And, if you're not a teacher, if you're just working and you don't have that kind of interaction, which all artists do, except a lot of writers and visual artists don't necessarily work with other people, but musicians and theater people, actors, we thrive on being in the same room with each other. So yeah, it's very different. So I just wanted to wrap up with these little videos. And, I mentioned earlier about Cotty. So I don't know, what was it back in, getting to know Mark and being married to him for many years, science and philosophy, I didn't think about that stuff, and I learned a lot from him. So I was just thinking about cats and their brains and what are they thinking,
What are they thinking?
and our
What are
relationship.
Our relationship was, I didn't know that, the depth of that thought. But, no, you're saying what is going on in the little cat's brain.
That's right.
And, no, we read it, somebody wrote a book and basically came up to the conclusion that we just are big, nice cats. That's how they view us. But the main reason, the deeper reason is the fact of how do we build our own consciousness. We build our consciousness from what we know.
Mm-hmm.
What we see reflects what we know, what we pay attention, what we expect from people is based on our own experience and our own reality. So we see other people as big or small or whatever of us, and we're filtering our information. And so cats and any animal,
Dogs,
which
chicken,
we know
geese,
Ed knows more.
ducks.
What else? Ducks, yeah. And then I have a bunch of kitty pictures here. There's kitty with our feet. I'm very involved with those kitty. But you had a little example. This cat is a cat with my cat. That's my instrument, my mallet cat. But anyway, so the cat projects. So, but Sarah wanted to know really what's happening. So you started to do a little song, right?
I made this silly little song about the cat and what's going on in its brain. And then I thought it would be funny when I was on tour with the Play of Daniel to include some of my Danielites and make a little video on the same theme, medieval. And I sent it to Ed, just kind of as a joke. And then you just ran with it. So first we're going to show my little videos, and then we're going to show Ed's videos.
So there's two parts, huh? You're going to have to explain.
Yeah, the first part is mine.
What's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
What's going on in the little Cotty brain? In the little Cotty brain? In the brain of the Cotty? What's going on in the little Cotty brain? In the little Cotty brain? In the brain of the Cotty? What's going on in the little Cotty brain? In the little going on in the little cottage brain, in the little cottage brain, in the brain of the cottage? What's going on in the little cottage brain, the little cottage brain, the brain of the cottage?
So, was that the 12th century or 13th century version?
12th century version. I'm sorry. I think Eric Satie and John Cage would appreciate those little renditions. So now, this is what Ed and his partner in crime, Rob, did in response to my little video.
And you can comment on the
Yeah, or just play it. I think it's pretty clear.
Qu'est-ce qui passe dans la tête de Cuddy, to the tête de Cuddy? Qu'est-ce qui passe? Qu'est-ce qui passe dans la tête de Cuddy, to the tête de Cuddy, to the tête de Cuddy? Qu'est-ce qui passe dans la tête de Cuddy, to the tête de Cuddy, tête de Cuddy? Qu'est-ce qui passe? Qu'est-ce qui passe?
That's the French version.
That's right, that's the French version. And then we're going on YouTube.
What's going on in the little cottage brain, in the little cottage brain, in the brain of the cottage? What's going on in the little cottage brain, in the little cottage brain of the cottage? What's going on in the little cottage brain, in the brain of the cottage? What's going on in the little cottage brain, in the brain of the cottage? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on in the mind of the
And wrapping it up with the sign language version. I mean, it was a stupid little silly song, and then you guys just did all this really fun stuff with it, and that's spontaneous creation right there.
Well, I didn't think it was silly at all. I was very serious, Sarah.
Oh,
Those are-
well, especially the Zen one. So that's the kind of fun I have with my friends. Thanks, Ed, for being such a
Yes.
great friend.
Well, thank you for being such a great friend as well for 30 some, how many years? 35?
Who's counting?
Who's counting? Let's stop counting.
But it's great, and we're all feeling that. We all are missing our friends, and even being here virtually, it does help.
I did get to see you in March, though.
I think
Just
so.
everything.
I hope so.
No. I did see you
Well,
in New York.
I hope the vaccine is going to work, and
Yeah.
we'll get to the herd immunity. But now they're saying it's 90%, so might take a little time. But let's end on a high note. Friendship is golden.
Absolutely. Friendship is golden.
Well, thanks, Ed. And
Well,
tomorrow.
thank you for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. Right?
Absolutely.
And please say hi to your dogs and your geese and your ducks and your chickens. And
I
any
will do
turtles
so.
that may be around on your property.
I think they're hibernating now, but we do have a chicken named Mark and a rooster named Mark and a chicken named Sarah.
Sarah Pillow, right?
Do you think? What's
You got
that?
to use the whole name. Sarah Pillow.
Sarah Pillow. Absolutely. Yeah.
Great. And tomorrow we'll have our friend Van Manakis and Ellen Iovino, and they will be performing for us on guitar and their original songs and whatever they want to share with us, because they're very multi-talented. So we'll be back tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.